Hi, my name is Dr. Charlene Irvin Babcock, and I'm a practicing emergency medicine physician in Detroit, Michigan. And on this YouTube, I'd like to show you how to modify one ventilator to ventilate 2 or 4 patients simultaneously. Because of the COVID-19 pandemic, many healthcare providers are struggling with a situation where they may have more than one patient needing ventilation and not enough ventilators to go around. So that's why I'm putting this YouTube together, so I can show you how to modify one ventilator to ventilate more than one patient. It's based on a feasibility study that was published in 2006 in Academic Emergency Medicine with one of my colleagues, Dr. Neyman. The name of that manuscript is A Single Ventilator for Multiple Simulated Patients to Meet Disaster Surge. And at the end of this YouTube, I'll provide a link so you can click on it and go to the abstract. In that study, we just looked at simple equipment available in the emergency department and a way to modify the ventilator to ventilate 4 patients. And we used a T-tube, this is from a respiratory therapist cart. It's a drainage tube they use for aerosols. And we cut the bag off so we have a T-tube. And what we did is we took one T-tube and 4 different adapters. These are 22 millimeter adapters. So here you have a T-tube here, here, and here, and 3 22 millimeter adapters. And in this configuration, we have 4 ports that we can connect the expiration to or the inspiration cycle to. So we did this on both the expiration cycle and the inspiration cycle and connected the tube that we normally connect to the ventilator for inspiration directly to these tubes. We hooked them up to test lungs and we watched them for 6 hours. 6 hours both on pressure control using 25 centimeters of water and volume control using 2 liters tidal volume, so that each test lung, 4 test lungs, each one would get about 500 mLs. We measured the average tidal volume that was achieved during these ventilations, and using pressure control at 25 centimeters of water, the average tidal volume was approximately 471 cc's, and using volume control, the average tidal volume per test lung was approximately 510 mLs. So it worked very well. But how do you use this information, because it's only been done on a test lung? Well, there's a few things that are somewhat intuitive. First of all, you want to make sure the lung sizes are the same in all 4 portions of the cycle or the circuit. You wouldn't want to put a pediatric patient with an adult patient, because that wouldn't make sense. It wouldn't be able to ensure that the same volume is delivered everywhere appropriately. Likewise, you want to make sure the resistance is the same. You wouldn't want to put a patient with severe bronchospasm with a patient who did not have bronchospasm, because that might change the amount of volumes and it wouldn't make sure that they were equal volumes delivered to everybody. Additionally, in the study, we used the same length tubing for all 4 test lungs. So if you had one ventilator with 4 patients in a row such as that, the patients on the outside might need extenders to have the tubes reach the ventilator. For that reason, I would suggest what I call a half-star configuration. So the ventilator in the middle, 2 patients on either side with the heads facing the ventilator, and 2 patients in front with the heads facing the ventilator. And that way, the same length tubing would be able to reach all 4 patients. Now, having said this, again, this has not been studied in humans. I will tell you it has been done in humans. There's a physician by the name of Dr. Neyman. He is a practicing emergency medicine physician, and he was practicing in Las Vegas during the Las Vegas shooting disaster. And you can imagine, with a lot of penetrating torso and CNS injuries, he intubated a lot of patients. Well, they received a large volume of patients very quickly, and they ran out of ventilators. He actually trained in residency with Neyman, who was my co-author on this study, in residency at this institution, and he remembered this study. So when the respiratory therapist came up to him and said, "We don't have enough ventilators," he said, "Okay, get a splitter, use 1 ventilator for 2 patients." And it was very successful. He was able to keep them alive for hours as they waited for outside ventilator support to come in and help them supply the patient need. So although it hasn't been studied in humans, it has been done in humans. Now in that particular case, he used 2 patients per ventilator. And that setup is not that difficult to change. You simply use 1 T-splitter with 1 adapter and hook that up to the ventilator such as this. And that way you have 2 ports as opposed to 4. Now there is something that has not been studied that's important to mention, is that we did not evaluate the potential cross-contamination risk. This is a one-way circuit. So you imagine that the air is going one way and it connects back here, so the risk is low, but we don't know that for sure. Now, if you envision using this during the COVID-19 pandemic, in that particular case, they all had the same infection. So that somewhat mitigates the concern about a cross-contamination risk, because they all have the same infection. I will tell you that there's lots of different materials that you can use to configure it, such as a T-system like this, and your hospital may have something different, but if you simply put it together as the way I showed you, You may have different size tubes, etc., but using that type of H formation will help, but you have to see what you have in your institution. Now here's my disclaimer. This is off-label use of the ventilator. The ventilator is made for one person, and I'm using it here in a simulation of 4 patients. And so I always hope that you would never need to use it in this way, but you can never predict what's going to happen in a disaster. And if it was me and I had 4 patients and they all needed intubation and I only had 1 ventilator, I would simply have a shared discussion meeting with all 4 families and say, I can pick 1 to live, or we can try to have all 4 live. But this is clearly off-label and likely would only be used in a dire circumstance, which we may see with COVID-19. I thank you for watching this video. I'd like to give a shout out thanks to my videographers, Chris Fester, Anita Van, and Garrett Rick, along with my respiratory therapists, Brian Jones and Sandy. Thank you for watching this video. Good luck to you and have a great day.